All right, today we're diving into a story that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a movie. A story about a boy who was told he would never, ever grow, but then went on to become, well, arguably the greatest player the world has ever seen. It all starts with a diagnosis that is just devastating. I mean, for any young athlete, that's it. That's a dream-ending verdict right there. But here's the thing. That diagnosis wasn't the end of the story. Not even close. In fact, it was just the beginning of an unbelievable journey that would defy every single expectation and completely rewrite the history books. To really get how big of a mountain he had to climb, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. We're talking about a working-class home in Argentina, a place where the love for football was absolutely massive, but money? Well, money was tight. And you know, from the moment he stepped on a pitch, the whispers started. You could just hear it. He's too small. He's just going to get crushed out there. There's no way he has a future in a game that's played by giants.
And this wasn't just, playground talk. It was a physical reality. His dream was enormous, but his body wasn't keeping up, and that gap was becoming impossible for anyone to ignore.
So they get the official word, growth hormone deficiency. What that means is his body literally stopped growing. For a kid who wants to be a professional soccer player, that's a death sentence for your career before it even has a chance to start.
So his family starts looking for help, right? They're knocking on the doors of local clubs. And yeah, the clubs could see the talent, but they also saw the risk. So the first answer they got was a hard no.
So they try again. They go to a different club, hoping for a different answer. But the result was exactly the same. The treatment was just too expensive. The risk was way too big. Another rejection.
And it happened again. The doors just kept slamming shut, one after another. And you can just imagine, with every single no, that dream felt like it was slipping right through their fingers.
And you've got to understand, this was about so much more than just football. The hormone treatments he needed cost an absolute fortune. With every rejection, the financial pressure, the emotional weight on his family just got heavier and heavier. Hope was really starting to fade.
But then, right when it seemed like it was all over, one moment changed everything. And I mean everything. It's a moment so wild, it's become a legend in the sports world. And believe it or not, it all happened on a simple paper napkin.
So, with the money running out and pretty much the whole world telling him no, you have to ask yourself, right? Was this it? Was this where this incredible journey was just supposed to end? No way. Not a chance. Because while all these other clubs were looking at a spreadsheet and seeing an expensive risk, a liability, FC Barcelona saw something completely different. They saw a once-in-a-generation talent. They saw this unstoppable hunger that you just can't coach. They saw potential that was completely off the charts.
But getting that contract wasn't the happy ending, okay? It was actually the start of an even harder chapter. Because greatness, it always has a price. And that price is always paid in sacrifice. This is where he forged that unstoppable mindset. I mean, think about it. He had to endure the pain of daily injections. He had to master the discipline of absolutely relentless training. He made the incredible sacrifice of leaving his home, his family, for a whole new continent. And through it all, he lived by one simple rule: no excuses.
And what was the result of all that? A complete 180 in how people saw him. The same people who probably laughed at the idea of this tiny kid making it big, they were now on their feet, clapping for his absolute genius.
Which brings us to the final, amazing act of his story. The rise from being totally dismissed and doubted to reaching the absolute peak of his sport and proving every single person wrong along the way.
Just think back for a second to where this whole thing started. You had a world full of so-called experts and coaches who doubted him, who could only see his physical limitations and just completely wrote him off.
And with a ball at his feet, he didn't just talk back. He silenced every single one of them. He proved them all wrong. And I don't mean just a little wrong. I mean spectacularly, undeniably wrong.
You know, the world that once ignored this small boy from Rosario, Argentina? Well, now, that very same world stops everything it's doing just to watch him play. That's a complete reversal, earned every single step of the way.
It's really the ultimate story, isn't it? A journey from a poor home, from no support, from being told he had absolutely no future, to being called by millions of people the greatest to ever play the game. So today, he's in that conversation for the greatest of all time. But that, of course, raises the ultimate question. After everything he overcame, does that make him the undisputed GOAT? I gotta know what you think. Let me know in the comments, Ronaldo or Messi?